Hello everyone, welcome back to another video of Trailhead Explanation. In this video, we are going to cover unit input data using forms from the module or a component basic. So here in this unit, we will be updating our previously created components like camping header, camping list item. We will be revisiting those components and update the code based on the challenge provided here in this unit. So we will be using again the same fields like quantity, price, packed, checkbox value, and everything. And we will be also creating or we will also be working on the JavaScript side, which will be triggered on the click of a button. So let's quickly launch our Trailhead Playground, which I've already done, and move to the developer console. So from here, from the gear like icon, I'm going to open up my developer console on a new tab. And here, the first thing that we have to do is we have to um, go to the camping header component, and there we have to place the camping list or the h1 tag uh, into the lightning layout component. So let's quickly go back here and open the camping header component. So from the open resource, I'm going to just type camping header. There it is. Just open this up. Now here, if you can see in the previous unit, we just put out this camping list heading in simply just h1 tag. Now here, as per the challenge, we have to change it and we have to use some icon as well, and we have to make use of lightning layout items. So how we can do that? So if you'll just go to this unit, on top there is this section, a new expense form. So just go to that, and if you scroll a little bit towards up, there you will find okay, let me just see over here. Yeah, there is this header. You can see that there is already one code segment provided over here, where you can see that inside lightning layout there are things, or the header of a component has been placed by the name expenses. So we are going to use the same. So what I'm going to do is, if you can see, there is this comment page header, and this is the closing comment of page header. So what I'm going to do is, I will just copy this till closing tag of page header. I will copy this and go back to my developer console. Just below this, I will paste this over here. Now here, what we have to do is, let's modify it based on our challenge. I'll go back to my challenge here, and there it is. We have to add a lightning icon component, and icon name has to be action goal. So I will copy this, go back to your developer console, and here, so this is lightning layout. You can find this in the component reference sheet as well, or component reference link as well, where this lightning layout contains this attribute or tag, another tag, lightning layout item. And inside this lightning layout item, we can place whatever component or whatever tags, text or content that we want to be visible on our UI. So here in the first lightning layout, this is the inside tag of lightning layout, by the name lightning layout item. Now inside this, we have placed two lightning layout item. One holds the icon name, and the other one just simply holds the text value that we have to give out for the header of a component. So first of all, let's update this lightning icon name. So as per our challenge, we have to make it action colon goal. So I will replace this, and the alternative text has to be camping. So I will copy this. So these are the attributes of lightning icon name and alternative text. So here, instead of my expenses, I'm going to place camping. Now for the second lightning layout item, we have to place the heading. So for the heading, I'm just simply going to make it as my camping list. That's all that I will be placing over here. We can just remove the second one as well. There is no need of this. So let's just remove this. Only one heading I want to keep in my camping header. And instead of my camping list, I'm just going to keep it camping list. And just remove this previous code. That's it. Save this. So we are ready with our very first component, which is camping header. Now we have to go to the next component. We have to update our next component, which is camping list. So let's go to camping list component. I will go back to my developer console and just open this up, camping list. So if you'll see, okay, there it is, camping list. So I'm going to open this up and we will make changes over here. So in the previous unit or videos, we have just placed a simple HTML ordered list over here. So we are going to replace this with uh, attribute. So the first thing that we have to do is we have to add an attribute. So the first attribute that we have to add will be of name item, and the type is going to be array of camping items. So let's do that. Here I'm going to remove all of this, and first of all I'm going to put out an aura attribute. The name I'm going to give it as items, as it is specified over here that the first attribute that we have to give by the name items. Type will be array of camping items. So I will copy this API name over here. And going back here, I'll say attribute is type. And inside that, I will place this camping item. And to specify that this is an array, just place the square brackets. Remove any extra spaces and just close this. Now moving on, the second attribute that we have to add will be of new item. Type again will be camping item and default values has been provided over here. So let's just go copy this name and go back to developer console and add another aura attribute. Name is going to be the one which I have copied from the challenge. Type again has to be camping item. Copy this over here and paste this in the type. Now, instead, there has been mentioned that we have to provide a default values. So in order to provide default values, just place the double inverted commas and inside that two curly brackets, open and closed. Now inside that we are going to provide the default values which have been provided over here. So I will just copy this and go back to your developer console and paste this over here. I'll just align this Control A and then Shift Tab. Okay, and then this is the closing one. So this has now been aligned. Now here camping S object, I will place everything in, everything in single inverted commas. So this has to be in single inverted commas here. And after each attribute, I'm just going to place this comma to separate them. And that's all we have to do in order to declare our attributes. Now, moving on, the next thing is we have to create an input form over here. So how we can do that is the first thing that we have to keep in mind is we have to use SLDS form. SLDS form tagged class component is camping list. So we are already in camping list component. So we are going to add this form there only. And these are the input fields that we have to add in the form. So what I'm going to do is in this unit, this form layout, or you can say just syntax, or the classes that have to be used inside this form has already been mentioned, or the code segment we already have. So just go to the new expense form link on your right hand side, the section of this unit. If you click on this, there you go, there is this, you can see create new expense, and here there is this written create new expense form, and inside that these are the lightning inputs they are using for the expense form. But ours is camping list form, so we are going to update it based on the challenge conditions that have been provided. So what I'm going to do is I will simply just copy all of this code segment and will update it as per our challenge. So on the top right, you can see that there is this copy button. Just copy this and go back to your developer console. Here, I'm going to paste everything over here. Now, you can see that our attributes are here, and inside that, after that, I have just placed the expense form code. Now, first of all, I'll just align this in, align this code. So Control A and Shift Tab. So now this code has been aligned. Now we will just visit everything one by one. So over here there has been defined one div inside that boxed area. So we are not going to change anything over here. So moving on. Okay, so here I'm going to change the area labeled by this ID, which is I'm going to say camping. This is the form ID that I'm giving over here. Then the same ID, I'm going to use it over here in legend ID as well. So just paste this over here. Now moving on, the header, or you can say the legend, we are going to replace it by say camping items. That's it. This is the legend that we are going to give. Once we just expense form here, the form actually starts. Now here, what we are going to do is we will simply add the input fields which have been mentioned in our uh, challenge. So let's go back to our challenge. Now, if you scroll a little bit over here, you can see that these are the inputs provided over here. So one by one, we are going to replace them. So the first input that we have to provide is name, and the value will be from a field value from new item. So we have to fetch it using new item attribute, and required is true. So let's go back to our developer console. First, I'll copy this new item. Now, the first input over here is already present. So what I'm going to do is I will just simply change the attribute name. Instead of new expense, it has to be new item. Remove any extra spaces, and a label, I'm going to give it as only name. Here also, I'm going to change it to cam, or just say item name, right? This is the name that I'm going to give. And here, or ID as expense form for now. Now we have prepared our very first lightning input. Moving on to next one is quantity. So let's just go to, I will just copy this. And again, we have to fetch it from a new item. This is supposed to be required, and type will be number. Minimum, we have to keep it to 1. So let's go back. So number, it is already number, or ID I'm not changing right now. Label, I have to change it to quantity. Name, I'll say item quantity. Minimum, I'll say it is 1. For matter, I will remove this because this is just a quantity, and type, we have already mentioned that it is going to be number. I'll remove the step attribute as well. Inside a value, I'm going to say new item. I will be fetching it from here. And instead of amount, it has to be quantity. So we can add any text, whatever we want. We can customize it on our basis that what message you want to show at the time when this validation is not fulfilled. So in our case, minimum value is 1. So I'm going to say message when range underflow, uh, minimum quantity is required. Okay, so I'll put out here is minimum required quantity is 1. Right? So this is for the quantity. Now moving on, the next input that we have to place over here, format a currency, type has to be number. So going back here, so we have taken up quantity. Now next is we have to uh, add here type is equal to number. After that, for matter, I'm going to paste it inside a double inverted commas. It is to be currency. Instead of colon, it will be equal to. Now here, value, I'm going to fetch it or take it from a new item. Instead of client, it has to be price. Then name, I'm going to say item price. And right now, or ID, I'm keeping it the same. Label, I'll say price. So this is just simply the text you will get to see before any value has been placed into the input field. So this is the third input that we have used. Now the last one is the checkbox, which is add a lightning input component for the packed field. So let's go back over here. And so I'm going to remove this date. Uh, we just require this checkbox one. So type is going to be checkbox, or ID I'm right now keeping it same expense form. Label I'm going to say it is packed. Name I'll say again packed. Just remove underscore C, and checked value I will be taking it from item, new item, sorry. New item, and here the field packed will be used. So these are the fields that four fields that we, or the lightning input that we will be using. Now moving on, next thing we have to do is we have taken all the fields over here. The next thing we have to do is add a lightning button component. So variant will be brand, label we have to take create camping item. So I will just copy this over here, and going back to here, label I'm just going to paste this over here. Class I'm going to keep it same variant as brand, and on click we have to call another function, which is on click execute the click create item function. So I will just go back here and paste this on click off. So whenever this button will be clicked, it is going to call this function, click create item. Now this function we have to declare, or we have to define it in our JavaScript. Copy this function name as well, and going to go to your controller. Now here in the controller, what we are going to do is we are going to change this function name. Instead of my action, I'm going to place the name which we have defined or taken up on the click of this button. So here I have declared it. So just save this controller as well. The component as well I'm going to save. So this is the basic structure that we have to create for our component. Now, the next thing that we have to do is in the JavaScript controller. So we'll do that in a while, but before that, let's quickly have a structure look what actually okay, it got saved. I don't know what error, why that error was coming. All right. So now I'm going to open up the app that we have to display or preview these components. So here it is, my component app is header, and the second one is a C colon camping list. Let's just save this and click on preview. So you can see over here that it is showing camping list, the header part. This is the header. This is the icon that we have placed, which has a name as icon colon goal. So this is the icon. Now here, this is the legend ID or the legend text that we have placed in the camping list. You can see add camping items. So this is there. These are the four fields that are coming, that we have taken inputs: name, quantity, price, and packed. So this is the checkbox. Now, if you'll notice that right now the quantity is 0, and here the error is showing minimum required value. Quantity is 1. This is the same message coming up which I have provided over here in the lightning input, right? So this is how the basic structure is going to look like. Now, here create camping item, this is the button that we have placed. So if I'll click this right now, nothing is going to happen because we haven't placed anything inside the JavaScript controller. So this is going to do nothing right now. This component itself right now is not going to do anything because nothing has been developed on the controller side. So let's go quickly go back to our developer console, and let's see what further we have to do in order to make this challenge or complete this challenge. So next thing, so this is the next part of this challenge. So here what we have to do is we have to enter some values here. So what actually is expected over here? So suppose I add some item here. quantity I say 2, and price, let's say it is a 50, right? So this is a $50 coming up, and I'll say it's packed. So whenever I add these inputs over here, and once I click on this button, create camping items, so what it should do is, after clicking on this button, below this component, below this add camping item form, there should be another section coming up over here where all these add inputs that I've provided should be displayed in a consolidated form just below this camping form. So this is what is expected out of this challenge, right? So let's quickly go back to our challenge over here, and let's do this one by one. So first of all, what we have to do is we have to check if all the field values are valid on the click of this button, right? So we are going to perform the JavaScript controller logic inside the create click item action, create item function. So first of all, they are asking that push the new item into the array of existing item. So here we have two attributes that we have declared: new item, and this one holds the existing one. Is I will just simply first of all get the data from both of these two attributes, right? So let's say var item is equals to component dot get b dot items. This is the attribute name. You can see items over here. So now this is going to give me all the values that are already there inside this uh, attribute. But in the beginning, this is going to remain blank. But once I start filling this form and click on this button again and again, this item is going to hold all those values, right? So next thing is we have to call or get the values of existing items. So that sorry, new items. So I'm going to say new item is equals to component dot get b dot new item. This is again the attribute name new item over here. Now push it into the existing one. So item dot push new item. So this is how we use array to push another array into the one. So push is the array function or method that we are using. Now, the next thing is trigger the notification. It should also get back to the initial stage. That is, everything should be blank over here. Like name field input should be blank. This quantity, it should be 0, right? So this is, it should go back to the uh, default values once I click on this create camping button, and the item has been added in the consolidated form just below this form, right? So let's go back to our developer console here. Before we move further, what we have to do is we have to first of all just check if there are any to do is we have to just go back to our unit and just go to handle form submission in an action handler link over here. And there is this code already present in this unit code segment that this actually checks whether the data that we are entering into the input fields are actually as per the validation that we have applied. So let's quickly copy this thing from here, simply paste this over here. So so once I click on this button, it is first of all going to check all the validation. So first of all, I'll just change this name valid items. I'm going to say valid items. Component dot find expense form. Now, what is this expense form? Expense form is the same Aura ID that we have taken over here. You can see that in each of the Lightning input, there is this Aura ID defined as expense form, same Aura ID that is placed. So what it is going to do is it will fetch this all these four attributes in the form of an array, right? So right now it is expense form. I'm going to say change it to as per this challenge. So let's say campaign form, right? And I will just copy this and change in each of the inputs, or ID changed over here and here as well. Now in the save this in the controller, I'm going to change the expense form or ID with the camping form. So this is basically getting all the values that we are entering in the input form. So this is going to fetch all those, and then using the reduce JS function, it is going to check whether the all the validations that we have put or we have assigned is working or not, is valid or not, using these functions shown over here. And once it is working fine, it is going to give out the true value. Once everything so it is going to take all the attributes value in the form of an array in one consolidated form, and it is going to keep it true until and unless any of the validation fails. Otherwise it is going to give out the or it is going to return the value false. Now moving on, this show help message if invalid are items or the inputs that we are providing in the uh, form the camping form. Now what we are going to do is, once I get that everything is validated and everything is fine in the input values, so if this valid items, then only it should perform the further functions or the further actions to add it into the array or fetch this array and everything, right? So this also means that if valid items is true, this means. And if you want to check for the false value, you can just add one negation just below before this. So this is how we can just proceed with the uh, data that we have to show. Now next thing what we have to do is, I'll just quickly save this as well. Now moving on, next what we have to do is so right now if you will see that we are just pushing items here, new items into the existing item. JSON dot stringify, save this, refresh this, clear this, add one more item, bag quantity 4, let's say 50, click on create camping. Now you can see over here that the attributes that we had declared, S object type, quantity, price, packed, and name, all these attributes are coming up over here with the values that I have provided inside this input fields. So camping item, this is the by default we had provided in the Aura component. Quantity we are giving it as 4, price we have given as 50, and packed is false. Now what I'm going to do is I'll add one more item, say ropes, and I'm going to keep quantity as 2, price let's say it's 20, packed true. Click on this again, and there you go. You can see that this is coming out. Uh, if you'll notice, now there are two length of the array is 2. But if you will notice that both of the items have been changed to ropes and ropes. So now what this why this thing is happening, instead of bags, it has changed everything to ropes. So let's quickly see what we can do to rectify this. So in order to change this, what we have to do is we have to first of all set our attribute items with with the value that we have pushing over here. So what we have to do is we have to simply say component dot set which attribute I want to set, this one. So I will just copy this with what value I want to set it, the item, the variable item. This is simply just a variable. I can give out any name to this. This is simply just variable in which I'm just pushing my data. This has nothing to do with the setting of this attribute with the value item. Now in actual, we are setting this v items into this uh, attribute items, right? So this is how we can set it. Now the next thing, just save this. Lastly, what we have to do is we have to, once I click on this click create camping item button, it should go back to its default stage. So what we have to do for that is component dot set v dot new item. This is the new item which the array or the attribute which hold the values which we are putting out in these inputs. So this attribute holds all these newly entering values. So we have to set them to default values. So how we can do that is we have to just type s. I'll just take this from here. So I will just take it from here and paste this inside here. Keep this in single inverted commas, this as well. Then this has to be in single inverted commas. 0, this is also, and packed as well. We are keeping it as false. Now here, if you'll notice, name, I haven't changed it to the default value. So what I'm going to do is I will just add one more here, name, and assign it to blank. Put the comma, Control A and Shift Tab. So this is just what I've done is I've just reset it to default value once the button functionality is over. So now let's just save this and let's go back. Now this was the setting the values to default. So let's test this as well. Go back here, refresh this. Now here I'll say the first thing is bag, quantity 2, price let's say 50, packed, true. Click on this button. Now everything has been reset to default. So this is the function of this component dot set. So in order to see what all values we are entering, let's go back to our camping list here. So now we have all the data that we have taken up in the new item, right? Sorry, in the items attribute, we have all the data that is being entered into the input form. So we are going to use this to show the data. So let's go back to this component, and here, just after this create new expense tag is closing, this comment tag is closing, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make those items visible over here. So now the thing that we have to do is we have to simply just make these attributes visible on the UI. So how we can do this? If I'll just say I'll just call this attribute over here, this is not the way it will work. It will not show the data. Why? Because this is not a single string value or a single number value. This is an array form of data, array form of attribute. So how we can proceed with that? For that, we have to use Aura iteration. This is nothing but the for loop in our basic code syntax. So Aura iteration is specifically for the Aura components. Now inside this, I'm going to use the attribute v dot items, and the variable that will be used to access all the item inside that will be var, let's say, item. Okay, and just set the closing tag for this. That's it. Now inside that and this, what I have to do is I have to simply show those values. So let's say name. Okay, inside name, I'm going to say item using this variable. So, exclamation mark item dot name. Okay, BR. Okay, I'm sorry. Let's say BR. Then next thing I want to see quantity. And here I'll say again item dot quantity BR break tag, line break tag. Now next is I want to see price. So let's say item dot price, again break line tag, and the last thing is whether it is tagged or not. So item dot tagged, the API name, and here again I'm going to use a BR break line tag to make it separable from the next iteration. So this is how our data will be shown over here. Now there is another way we can do this is we can use our camping list item controller as well in order to show this. So how we can do that? So let's first quickly see how this is working. So go back to your Aura, refresh this, add name, say bag, quantity 2, price 40, packed, I'm keeping it as false. Click on this. There you go. This is showing me values. Bag, name is bag, quantity is 2, and everything. And it has reset to default. Now, next thing is ropes. Quantity, I'm saying 4, and it is of $10. Packed is true. There you go. Name, rope, quantity 4, price 10, and it is coming. The previous value is intact as it is coming over here before the newly added. So this is how it is going to work. Now, instead of showing it over here, how we can call another component from our existing component, or you can say how to call the child component and pass the values into the child component. As you're aware, in the previous unit, we had created one component in order to show the camping list items. So what was that? It was this component by the name camping list item. So open this. Now inside this, I'm going to show the data. So how we are going to do this is we are going to simply go back to here on our camping list component, and here I'm going to call this camping list item. So let's go back, C colon camping list item. And inside this, I'm going to pass an attribute by the name item. And inside that, I'll say the value that I'm passing is item. Okay. And instead of showing this everything over here, we'll go to camping list item and display that over there. So it is basically going to work same as for each loop. And every time a new value comes over here, it a new record comes over here, it is going to call this function, call this component. So let's go to this camping list item. Now here we have already this item by the name item. I'm going to remove this default from here and also just remove this. This is how I'm going to keep it. Let's remove this as well, disabled, and every lightning card I'm going to keep it. And in the title I'm going to set it as my camping list items. Okay. And button, I'm also I'll just remove this as well. I'm going to keep this class over here, And inside this, I'm just going to paste everything which I've copied from this, from the previous component. Now here, if you will notice this item, the name of this attribute in which we are passing the attribute from this component has to be same. So if it is XYZ, this has to be XYZ. And here everything will be XYZ dot name, XYZ dot quantity. So this is how you can pass values into the child component. So this is my child component ready. Now I'll go back to my parent component, and here just change it again to item only. I'm keeping it as item. Remove this as well. We do not require this, and save this. So first of all, save the child component and then the parent once you pass an attribute over here, because it is not going to save if this attribute is not saved inside the child component. So lots of talk. Now just go back here and refresh this. Let's see how it is working now. Name, I'll say bag again, quantity 3, price 10. Click on, okay, we are getting some error. Unable to get a value for key. Okay. Why this error is coming? If you notice that it is saying item.name, it is not found. So we are accessing this value over here, name, but we haven't taken up over here in this new item. So what I'll do is I will let's see if this resolves. Name, and like this, save this, refresh this again. Bag 420. Okay, this is not resolved yet. Let's see. Okay, we made a mistake over here, I think. Yeah, it is supposed to be v dot. Why? Because this is not an iteration variable. It is from the attribute that we are accessing the values. So let's save this now. Now, hopefully it should work this time. Let's say bags 300. There you go. The name is coming up over here, all the details. Now say ropes, quantity is 3 again, $10, packed is true, and the another item is coming up here. Now, if you want to make it visible over here in this one heading, so what we can do is, instead of placing this here, you can go back to this aura iteration just before that and place this like this. Okay, save this, and from here just remove everything. Save this as well. Let's see how it is working now. Bags 2, 10. Okay, now tent 450. Packed is true. There you go. Now it is coming under one camping list heading. So that's all we had to do. So I think this is an extra additional step that I wanted to clear out to you, that how we can call child components from this parent one, and how we can pass the attributes and play around the variables. So that's all we had to do in our this challenge. Let's go back to our challenge unit challenge, and let it just for save. And just click on this check challenge to earn 500 points. There you go. This unit is completed. See you in the next video with another unit or module. Till then, take care. See you in the next video. And if you like our content and explanation, please hit the subscribe button and make sure you like the video as well. Thank you.